all of the work, and here we're starting here. I want to talk about all of the work that you have done helping women not only to find their passion and their purpose, but to live it. And once you start that journey, the process. Let's talk about the process because things are changing now. How are you this word reimagining, how are you helping people reimagine their process and getting to where they want to be?
Okay, great. Wonderful. Do you want me to start now?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know we were. I think for me, what I've learned in working with so many women and talking to so many women, you almost create this research. I've spoken to hundreds of women. And so you learn about the way that their mind works and you learn about them. The way that I'm helping them is first and foremost, I always say that I can teach you the tools all day long on how to be successful. But if you don't have the mindset to match that success that you want to reach, it doesn't matter what I teach you, you're not going to get to the level that you want because you won't know what to do with the tools. So some of the things that I'm doing, especially now with the reprogramming, is I'm first and foremost asking women to take a step back. There's so much happening right now emotionally. We're all affected so emotionally. And women, I believe, we're emotional beings. And I think that's one of the things that makes us pretty great. Mm-hmm. But we've got to step out of the emotion and we've got to look at our life and what we want to accomplish in our businesses and our careers from a business perspective. So I don't ask women usually to step out of the emotion, but this is the only way you're going to be able to make this process happen. Step back. Recognize that you need to work on whatever it is that's holding you back, right? That's the key to your success. What's holding me back? What's keeping me from where it is I want to be? And a lot of times there's something very specific.
And here's what I have found out. And during COVID, a lot of things shifted for a lot of people. And I started therapy. And that has been like an open door to my soul. But a lot of people, unless you really, and this word has been used, or this phraseology has been used a lot, taking a deep dive. But unless you take a deep dive into your inner being, a lot of times you won't know what's holding you back.
Yes.
You don't know because sometimes it's so subtle that you just don't know.
Agreed. And that is the reason why most people don't. You hit it right on the dot. Most people are not willing to do that. I call it the work. Because it is not easy work. When you start looking at your inner challenges, obstacles, things that have happened in your life to you, for you, it doesn't matter what words you use. It is not easy to look at yourself through lenses where you're basically critiquing yourself.
Right.
But that's the only way you can get to that next level. You've got to stop. I mean, I remember days when I was doing this that I would be in the back of my closet in fetal position crying for my soul because it hurt almost. It physically hurt for me to look at my life, to look at what was wrong with it. And I'm sorry, but there were things wrong in my life and what I wasn't happy about. And those changes are not easy. I have to tell you, sometimes it's easier for women to stay in comfort, to stay where they are today, even if they're not happy with where their life or their career is.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I was having this conversation with my husband just yesterday, and I was saying to him, it takes courage to be honest with oneself about who you are, why you are, and where you are, but going back and taking an assessment of your life, it takes courage to change. First of all, it takes courage to identify that you are not perfect and that you are a flawed human being. And I think, as you're saying that has been a lot of what has held many of us back because we come from a place and we move through life with a lot of hurts, a lot of pain, a lot of issues that are unresolved. And then you
Yes.
get to what I call, for me, has been like a crossroads. And I understand that I'm at this road, and in order to go to the next place, I have to deal with these issues that have ailed me for the last 53 years. And it's hard, because if you've done a thing for your whole life, it is hard to change a thing. It is hard to come out of what is comfortable and what you know.
Yes, it is, but it's worth it.
It
I
is.
have to tell you, my journey to this place that I am today, when I look back, I say it was worth it. Even though when you're going through it, when you're feeling it, it is one of the most challenging things you can experience. And like I said, I had physical pain, even though nothing was wrong with me physically.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start releasing those things and you recognize the growth that can happen and how it stops holding you back from the life you deserve. And that's the key. I believe every woman, every person on this earth deserves a beautiful, amazing, happy life. We don't know what happens afterwards, okay?
Right.
We're here now. Let's live it. Let's live it. Not just be. Let's live our life. So everything you're talking about is true. Easy to stay in your comfort zone, but you know what I say, and I've said this before on your show. Uncomfortable. You've got to get uncomfortable. Change only happens in the uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. If you're comfortable, things aren't going to happen. Changes are not going to happen.
Sure.
Every time I start getting comfortable, I know it's almost time for me to go to the next level again.
Wow. And so how do we help? And the book is Successful Women, A Successful Woman's Mindset, Unlock the Secrets of Success. And that word mindset always, it always slaps you in the face, because until you change your mind, nothing is going to happen. How do we help women to change their mind, especially if you've been in a place of comfort for way too long? How do you change your mind?
Well, I don't believe you can do it on your own. I'm going to be really honest with you. I believe that when you mentioned the therapist, I've seen the therapist on and off for years. I think it's brilliant, but there's also other ways. There's hypnotherapists, there's mentors, there's coaches, there's classes you can be a part of. There is no lack of resources for someone to find their way through it. But because a person has been in their own life so long, they at this moment, more than likely, do not have the tools necessary to first figure out what it is they have to work through. And if they know what it is, the tools to work through it. So I highly suggest that you think about, anybody listening or watching, to look outside of your bubble. Don't go to your best friend. Don't go to your significant other. Don't go to your parents. Why? Because that is comfortable. Mm-hmm. You have to find someone that will push you into the uncomfortable. Now, I want to share for a minute what I mean by that. People might be like, well, what do you mean by being uncomfortable? I mean that taking the time to explore things that you've gone through, or the feelings that you have, or the way that you are today doesn't feel good, because who the heck wants to do that? Mm-hmm. But it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. It is necessary. And what I have found in therapy, because I think a lot of people are resistant, because it is the unknown. And, yes. And for so long, if you're a person who's never shared the depth of who you are with another person that is outside your bubble, then it can be challenging. But what I found is that it was almost like a cleansing, and it is almost like a cleansing to really identify these things that I didn't even know were holding me back. But what I'm also finding is that most women, we will invest thousands of dollars in things that make us feel better, make us look better, but we can't see investing that same money in something that will catapult us to the next place.
That's because women are not good at investing in themselves. So if you really think about it, that goes side by side with working through your things and getting uncomfortable and believing in yourself. I talk about a lot of this in my book. And I think that is the problem. That's one of our biggest problems, because if your child came to you and said, Mom, I'm not doing so well, I need some guidance, right? I have that right now with one of my kids. He went through a really tough breakup after 4.5 years. That's a big deal for a 21-year-old.
Absolutely.
I'm like, let's find you someone that can guide you. And I found him a male empowerment coach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. That's the thing that's going to catapult you to the next level. So step back and ask yourself, how much money do you spend every month on your favorite coffee at your coffee shop? I mean, come on, you know how much money.
Mm-hmm.
How much money do you spend shopping or buying your favorite shoes or your favorite fashionable clothes?
Mm-hmm.
What do you spend on vacation? You've got to change the money mindset you have, and recognize that investing in yourself is actually going to take you to levels that you're going to be able to do more than you've ever been able to do. Because typically when you invest in yourself, the return is you're more successful, you make more money, you're happier, you're healthier, your relationships are better. Maybe you'll find a relationship if you want one. That's the key. That's your return on investment, right? Mm-hmm. I come from a world of commercial real estate with one of my businesses, and they always ask, what's my rate of investment? What's my rate of return? Think about that investment as a rate of return on the investment in yourself. It's the most powerful thing that someone can do.
Right. And I think as you write about and talk about pivoting, you know, I think we're all at a point with this pandemic where we're going to have to make a pivot.
Yes.
I mean, it's just no question. You are going to have to pivot.
Yes, please. One of the key talks that I've been giving since March has been how to pivot your business. I do a lot of speaking to companies and sales and women's conferences. How do I pivot my business? And I'm going to say it again. Take a step back from the emotion, because if you do what you love, you're emotionally involved in your business.
Absolutely.
Take a step back from your business and that hurt of, oh my gosh, 2020 isn't what I thought it would be. I had all these goals and all these financial goals. And take a step back and look at your surroundings. Learn from the people that are succeeding around you that are doing similar things. That's my business tip for today. Mm-hmm. What are they doing? It's not called copying. It's called learning from the experts. Change your mindset. How are they succeeding? What formulas are they using? And that's another reason why I love working with women in business as a mentor, because you stop and you realize you can pivot. How many people all of a sudden had to go online when they should have already been online?
Right.
We live in a technological world. Why haven't you been online? So the companies that were online and in person, they were good. They just pivoted more.
Right.
But make sure you look at your business from the perspective of a business owner. Mm-hmm. Not from someone that's emotionally passionate about what they're doing. Please have passion. I love what I do, but step back as a business owner. Look at it from a business perspective.
And I think the reason why we don't is because we're nurturers by nature.
Yes.
And I know for me, my business is like my baby. It's one of my babies, you know, and it's hard to take the emotion out of what you love to step into that next place. And I also want to add to that fear. You said, you know, people, you know, and for me, I had dealt with that in certain areas with my business. Like you said, you should have been online already, probably years ago. How do we change the mindset of being fearful about moving into something that is uncomfortable? Again, word, uncomfortable.
Yes. So there's always going to be a connection before fear and uncomfortable. Because we have fear of failure. We have fear of rejection. Some people have fear of success. That's a real thing.
Right.
Fear of success. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I'm successful? And how am I going to run it and overwhelm and such? The word fear for me is one that makes way too many choices for way too many people. So I want you, anybody that's listening, to step back And I want you to think of the word fear as a person that's standing next to you. I'm very visual, so this is something I do a lot. If this person is standing in front of you, standing next to you, what would you say to them? What would you say? And why would you ever allow someone, because we're going to use fear as a person, to stop you from having and doing and being? Because what's the worst that can happen? Failure. But how many times have you heard about so many successful people that have failed over and over and over again before they succeeded? So why don't you instead change your mindset and say, failure is part of the process to get to success? And I know you've heard that before.
Absolutely.
But it's true. And I have to remind people, because how can you be successful if you don't know what you're going to fail at? I love how you use the example of the baby, because I say that about my first business all the time. I say my first baby, because I started my first business before I had my first child.
Wow.
So I completely agree with you regarding that.
And I think, the adage that in every successful person will tell you about their failures. But we really can't hone in on that when we're in the middle of failing or potentially failing. We can't see necessarily the lessons that will come from that, because guess what? We're so emotionally attached that the failure feels like a failure of self. And so we have to reactualize really what that is, and what's the key, you think, to reactualizing the way we look at failure?
Well, the mindset, you've got to change your words. You've got to reframe your words. I went back to school and got my master's in therapy, and I learned so much about how the mind works. Even though I'm not a practicing therapist, I did it just so I could share these type of things. So there's a key word in therapy called reframe. What if instead of looking at it as failure, you changed your words? So right now, you've got a script in your head. I might fail. I might fail. I might fail. What if I fail? Over, the what ifs over and over. What if instead you change the words and you said to yourself, I may fail, but I'm going to do my best to succeed. And if I fail, which I choose not to, because you can say that out loud, right?
Sure.
I choose not to fail. If I fail, but I choose not to, then I will recognize that I will do it better next time so I can succeed. You've got to change your words. Stop with the what ifs and stop with the what if I fails. Instead, recognize that you'll probably learn something. So another thing you can say to yourself is, if I fail, I will be open to learning my lesson so I can move and change it the next time. Because there's always something there that I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to people that have failed and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I failed, because if I didn't fail, I wouldn't have known this.
Right.
Or if I didn't fail, I would have made the mistake and done this instead of this. There's always something on the other side later on that gives you confirmation of why you should have failed if you do.
And you mentioned that you went back to college and really in therapy and family therapy. What was the root of that?
When I was 38 years old, that was 10 years ago, I felt like I was supposed to do more, and I didn't know what it was. So the logical piece is, let's go back to school. And I love people and I love helping people, even though I come from a commercial real estate company that I've run for 25 years, right? People go, what are you doing going back to school? So when I went to school, I realized afterwards, I started practicing therapy for a very short period of time, part-time, that I had a bigger calling, which was to work with lots of people at once instead of one person in a room with a therapeutic model. The therapeutic model is wonderful, but it gives me limitations that I prefer not having. And one of them, just for fun, I'll share with you, is you're supposed to ask people how they feel in therapy, right? You're not allowed to tell people, get over it.
Right.
I got to a place in my business where I realized the time that it took them to work through things is wonderful, and I love it. I've done it as well. But I also recognize that I could be teaching the steps in a larger capacity. So now going back to school and learning about how the mind works, how to change behaviors, how to reframe your words, Oh gosh, my favorite therapy was solution-focused therapy. No surprise there. I did my thesis on that because I realized that I could take the mind and how it works and work with my business women when they hit those walls to say, okay, let's stop. Let's look at it and understand why. So even though I'm not acting as a therapist, I have tools in my toolbox now to share with people in a wider capacity how to overcome and change.
Right. And what I'm learning on this journey is that we're on this path, but a lot of us don't have enough tools
Yes.
for the journey. And so how do we talk about getting the tools that we need?
Well, the first place I'm going to tell people to go is I'm going to say you have a world of knowledge at your fingertips today. I come from a world where we didn't have Google. And let me tell you, it makes you pretty dang smart.
Absolutely.
But do your homework, just like if you went back to school. If your paper at school said to you, find the journal reviewed articles and find the books that have been published, please do your homework when you find the tools. There's a world of information on YouTube. There's a world of books for self-care. And obviously, there's also a world where there are so many people out there that are experts in teaching you if you want to work with somebody one-on-one. But please start with keywords. What is it that you're challenged with right now? Look up those words on Google, look them up and see that start understanding the things that come in front of you and start learning and spending the time. I'll give you a quick example. I decided I want to learn how to speed read. I love reading, but I don't have the patience for how slow I read. So I went online, I did my homework, I found a program that fits into my life, which right now is videos, and I purchased it. So there's a world of knowledge right there for you. One of the biggest things that stops people from change is the how. I don't know how. Well, you know what? That's a pretty lame excuse because there are millions of people that know how to do things that we don't know how to do. That's why there's experts. That's why there's successful people teaching things. That's why there's college. So stop using the how as an excuse because it's easy to. When you use the how as an excuse, I don't know how, that's because you're uncomfortable with the idea of possibly doing or learning something different that you might have to implement within yourself.
That's powerful. And so how is the speed reading going for you?
Oh, I just bought it.
You just bought it?
I just bought it yesterday and I'm really excited. I watched the introduction video and I'm going to spend each day, they're not very long, kind of learning, but I'm really excited because I just bought a book that's 700 pages and I notice I don't have as much patience or time that I did when I was younger to read the longer books, but I really want to read it. And I also did it because I love reading and I want to read more books. I just love reading. So how great. One of my closest friends and one of my business associates, she's a speed reader and she reads books like this. I'm like, gosh, I want to do that. See, there's a perfect example. Someone that knows how to do something that I don't know, that I want to learn. Right. So I'm going to figure out a way how to do it.
Do you think, though, as women, we don't call upon each other and connect with each other enough? For, you have a skill set and I have a skill set and she's got a skill set and she's got a skill set. And if we bring that together, you may have something that I need, but sometimes that P word, pride, keeps us from saying, Galit, help me.
Well, I would hope that that's changing. I do believe it's still an issue for a lot of women. I do believe a lot of the women that are in the corporate world experience that way more from my experience, because I work with corporate women as well. I have to tell you that, and you know this, that I now live in one of my businesses, or as you said, one of my babies, my Empowering You business and my mentoring business is online. And there is a world out there of women that all they want to do is support you, uplift you, embrace you. Okay. I started another business during COVID called Everyday Woman. And that's exactly what we're doing because I found that there was a need for that. Right. So we started a Facebook group, we started groups, we started memberships so women can feel this. So please, if anybody's listening and is living in a world of not feeling supported and not feeling like you have that like-minded group, Find it. It exists in so many places online. You can start on social media. There's groups specifically for that. There's masterminds. There's so much out there. And not all of us have the blessing of having a supporting, loving family and group of friends. And if that doesn't exist for you, please find it, because you can find it out of your bubble. It does exist. Strangers are ready to do that for you.
I love it. When the student is ready, the teacher will always appear.
Yes.
Galit, before we've got to let you go, tell people how they can pick up your book, Successful Woman's Mindset, Unlock the Secrets of Success, and all of the resources that you have available online that support women.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So you can find me across all social media at Galit Ventura-Rozen, which my name is right here. And then you can also find the book on Amazon or at the website, The Successful Woman's Mindset.
Absolutely. And you've got a lot of groups now that really support women. And I love what you said. If you don't have it in your tribe, in your community, you can find it.
Yes.
All you got to do is just put it out there. Galit, as always, powerful, powerful information. I love the connection, and I love your mission and how you are helping women empower each other. It's incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the platform to do so.
Indeed. Hey, everybody, stay on point. We're back right after this.